Anton Ferdinand is a part of the Hammers Chat team. How weird does that sound, by the way? We're very, very proud to have him, and I'll tell you what, he pulls no punches. And just in a second, I'm going to play you an extract, amongst other things, from the Anton Ferdinand podcast. We call it a podcast. It's a video, really. Now, he appears as a regular contributor on Hammers Chat's Patreon channel, which is the third Hammers Chat channel. That is a pay-to-view subscription type channel, which the income from that helps support us and helps us produce all the stuff that we currently do. There's two reasons that we think, anyway, why you'd want to go and support us over there. Number one is to keep Hammers Chat going if you enjoy the content. Number two is that you get a whole bunch of additional content. And it's not just the Anton Ferdinand stuff that you get. You also get Hammerlytics.
We are gargantuan, and we did most of the job by making it very clear how gargantuan we were.
You get Patreon breakfasts with myself and Gio.
It was literally just like it was the worst thing ever. Like you said, they didn't even change the title. They literally just copied the title. It was just at least have a little bit of creativity and change it up. But they literally stole the name and the concept.
Yeah. It was so bad. We were laughing. We weren't even offended by it.
You get opposition previews. In fact, you get an awful lot of stuff. You get additional podcasts. You get exclusive interviews. You get discounts from the store. You get a load of additional stuff just by signing up. There are 3 separate tiers, so we hope there's a budget and a tier for every single person. We'd very much appreciate if you go and give it a chance. If you don't like it, then you know what? You can just get rid of it and you can just unsubscribe. But before we get to Anton Ferdinand, you can hear what myself and Gio said about David Moyes in our player ratings video. The key thing here is, though, because this is exactly the conversation Gio had with Anton Ferdinand, so afterwards you'll also get his views as well.
And what are you giving David Moyes then?
I'll give him an 8 out of 10, which I think is a good mark. I don't want to give him a 10 out of 10 because that indicates you can't do any better against Arsenal. Well, you can win. But I don't think he did a lot wrong. I'll give it that way. I don't think he did a lot wrong at all. But I think margins are fine on that. The margins are fine. I think we might not have got our penalty because Declan Rice handballed it. They might have scored their penalty. I think margins are slim on it. But I do ultimately think we were better than Arsenal. I really do.
Yeah.
I think Arsenal could have won, but I think we probably deserved to. And it's fine. So yeah, 8 is no criticism. I'm just not going to give him a 10 because we drew. Ultimately, we drew, and I don't even overly blame him for the first 2 goals. Actually, believe it or not, 'cause I think he set the team out. If we'd have started slowly and that had happened, I'd have thought, oh God, but we didn't. We started with real intensity, real ferocity. I hope he enjoyed it. And I hope he enjoyed the fact that as the game went on, the crowd started to trust him again. And the stadium got louder. And I hope it showed him, actually, mate, I often say this is on you. That's on you as well. So the stadium being quiet and people leaving, that's on you. That stadium getting noisier then, that's on you. Because you allowed the team to attack. You instructed them to play high energy. The pressing encouraged the attacks because it made Arsenal make mistakes, which meant we were on the front foot. That's all part of it. I hope he doesn't compartmentalise it in his brain and think, oh, those Hammers fans are in a better mood today. Usually quite grumpy. I hope he sees his part in it for both good and bad, and I hope he enjoyed it. Because if he enjoyed it and he recognised it, it might just be enough to think, oh, hold on, that's what I've got to do. Give that crowd a bit of encouragement. Things are a little bit better for me, easier for the team, and everyone's a lot more relaxed. So, but yeah, I'll give him an 8 out of 10, mate. Well done, David Moyes.
I completely agree with you about what he says about the atmosphere, and he did acknowledge the crowd in his post-match interview, saying the crowd were really good today. Like you said, I just hope the penny's dropping a little bit, which is because of the way you played.
Yes. That
is why the crowd were good today. Because I felt during lockdown, for those long-term Hammers Chat subscribers, because it has been, it's 3 years ago now, I was wary, as Gonzo will know, I was wary of our form because there was no fans in the ground. And I felt that sometimes we would win games, but the football wasn't very good.
Yes.
We might beat Burnley 1-0, but because we won, you sort of had to be like, hey, happy days. And we were in the top 6 all season. It was enjoyable, but the football wasn't particularly my brand of football. It was still quite defensive. It was still ugly at times. And I always thought the entertainment factor was pretty low. And I thought this will work when there's no fans there because you sat on your couch, you're not paying any money. It's far easier to stomach when you're not traveling to games, spending hundreds on tickets and match days and using your annual leave for days off to go watch football. It's far easier to put up with it at home than it is when you're going to the games. So when the crowd went back and our poor form started, it wasn't a surprise to me. And it's because you get away with things when there's no fans there. You get away with crap football, but as long as it yields results, it's justified. But when you're no longer yielding the results, it very quickly becomes a very big problem. And it's not just West Ham. You look at Tottenham, for example, as well. When Conte was doing okay, it was fine. But as soon as the results weren't going great, the ugly football debate reared its head. Well, we're not enjoying this and we're not getting results, so bugger off. Same with Chelsea. The football's not, well, bugger off then. It's boring. The football's boring. We're not getting results. Do one. And there was that element with even Moyes. If Moyes played like that yesterday for the whole season, I wouldn't want him gone. I'd be happy with that. That's my kind of football. The fact of the matter is, it's 10 games to go, and that's our best performance of the season. And the worst thing for me, I've got no faith in us playing like that against Bournemouth. I wish I could sit here and say, Gonzo, that's it. He's found it. It's clicked. He's done it. He's got the blueprint. He's got the plan. We're going to do that for the rest of the season. We're going to stay up and we're going to win the trophy. Because if we play like that, I think we'll bloody do both. Arsenal yesterday, I mean, that was... Does it feel like a win sometimes? Because as a fan yesterday, Anton, I was buzzing like we'd won the game. I felt like we could have done, but 2-2, I'd come away celebrating it more than celebrate the win against Southampton and the win against Fulham. Not necessarily because we played Arsenal, but just because of the performance. I thought it was much better compared to those two games where we sort of just grinded out an ugly 1-0 win and that'll do kind of thing. Yesterday was much more attacking, much more intent, trying to take the game to Arsenal. I thoroughly enjoyed it. But as a player, do you ever come away like in a situation where you've joined the game, but the feeling is the same as a win elsewhere?
Yeah, definitely. You do. You come out of there and you go, well, that felt like a win. And energy's high. And that's down to the fan base. That's down to the stadium. The stadium was jumping yesterday and you could hear it. I wasn't able to be at the game yesterday. I watched it on my iPad whilst at a restaurant for my niece's birthday. But you could hear it even on the iPad, the atmosphere, especially in that second half, which was fantastic. And so you come off the pitch feeling like it's a win, but there's no doubt that when I've been in a situation and we've had games like that, and then we've got a team who you need to beat and you have to beat the following week, unless you beat that team, Arsenal's not going to feel like a win. Unless we beat Bournemouth, Arsenal don't feel like a win. It just feels like 2 points dropped, especially the way that we played, and we should have actually won the game. A point's fantastic because no one thought we was going to get anything from the game, and that's fantastic. But I think having that mentality to go, okay, well, we need to back. It felt like a win. We didn't win. We got a point, which is fantastic. But to make it feel even more like a win, let's back it up with an actual 3 points against a team who we have to beat, by the way. A team who's in and around us who we have to beat. And when you do that, then the Arsenal game it will feel massive in terms of the result, because one, it's giving you the momentum to go on and beat Bournemouth, but two, it will feel like 6 points.
I know you don't know, but I'm asking you to guess here. Where did that performance come from, Anton? This season, the football's been pretty dire, in my opinion. It's not been the best. And even in recent weeks where we have picked up some wins, the football's still not the best. We played Gent. We'll talk about Gent in a minute. Again, I don't think we played that well against Gent. I wasn't very impressed by it. But yet, yesterday, just out of nowhere, this performance just rocks up. Everybody was expecting us to get smashed. I thought we'd get beat heavily when we did the build-up show. Everybody was predicting 4 for Arsenal or something like that, and that was being optimistic. So where do you think, watching as an ex-pro, where do you think that performance comes from?
I just think there's less pressure on the game. As you said, everyone expects us to get beat. You know, it's not nice going to the game when everyone expects you to get beat. It almost gives you that little bit of fire in your belly. But I think the stadium was a big help yesterday, especially in that second half. The fans got behind the boys, and maybe that's because the fans didn't expect to win the game either or get anything from the game either. But again, it shows you what our fan base is about. If you show some type of willingness to go and run, to go and fight, they will back you. And I hope players have taken onus on that, and I hope players have taken that on board. That, you know what, if we do that every game, we're going to get that response. And I hope the boys who have played for West Ham for 2, 3, 4 years, who are in that squad, and making sure players that ain't been there, that have just come, the Paquetas, the carers, the players of that ilk who have just come, make them understand this is what it's like if you graft. If we put in performances like that, this is what it's like every week. Win, lose or draw, you'll get that type of response. You know, and I hope that gets transcended through the dressing room this week. But I just think that the reason why we saw that type of performance is because no one expected us to win. No one expects us to get anything from the game, I should say. And the pressure was off. And when the pressure is off, the shackles come off. And I think that's what we saw yesterday. I'm optimistic about Thursday. I'm optimistic, especially off the back of Sunday. You know, I hope, as I said to you before, when you win, even though we drew, but it felt like a win, when it feels like that, you don't feel tired. You know, so I hope we take that buzz from the weekend into a Thursday night under the lights, which has produced, by the way, Olympic Stadium has produced, especially Seville last year, some fantastic nights in the Europa League. If we can take that and get that type of atmosphere and that type of game come this Thursday, I think we beat them.
Does it make a big difference in training? Training, let's just say they had a full session today after yesterday. Does the morale go through the roof after a performance and a result like that?
100%. There'll be banter flying. I think there'll be lads who may not have been as vocal over the last few weeks because maybe not playing so well or will be down for some sort of reason because of football, and then all of a sudden they'll chirp up today. You know, they're walking with a spring in their step, and that's what happens. I think and that's why when I played and when you hear a lot of players calling for the fans to stay on side, it is for that, to keep the morale within the squad. It isn't just so the atmosphere is fantastic within the stadium and it's hard to play under pressure. It is also so that people from a mental state of mind, players from a mental state of mind, stay tuned in, stay upbeat and stay positive. You know, and that's another big reason why players, especially today, speak about fans staying on the side and not getting the ump. But I think we've got massive games ahead of us and games that our fan base are going to look forward to. You know, because they're massive games. Our fan base love massive games. The last few years, the massive games have been for the right reasons in terms of being the other end of the league and challenging for cups and challenging for European cups. You know, now we're at the opposite end of the league, but there's still massive games, and this is the business end. And from being a player, I know our fans love massive games. You know, and they turn up in their thousands to support, but all they want to see is players running through a brick wall for their football club. And I'm sure if we do that, the quality that we have got will come to fruition.